What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of College Football Picks. Man, week 12, a dozen is where we're at on weeks. So, is it week 12 or week 11? Hold on, I'm tripping. I think it's week 12. Yeah, week 12. Anyway, there are some really good games on top. Playoff is approaching. Only 2 more weeks left in the regular season. You've got this week, the next week, and then it's conference championship week, and then the Army-Navy game, and then bowls. So we'll see what the season has in store. I'm really excited for rivalry week next week, but there is a week before that. Some rivalry games on tap this week. What will this week have in store? Who knows? Let's look over the top 10. Well, who in the top 10 lost? Oklahoma finally met their maker. It's the Baylor Bears. I knew it. I saw that coming a mile away. Basically, everything I said would happen to Oklahoma ended up happening. They're essentially eliminated from playoff contention. Oh, I have some "your season is over" memes set, but it's kind of hard for me to upload them in the video. So what I think I'm going to do is every single "your season is over" meme is going to be compiled into one video. So that'll be its own video in like a few weeks. And Texas A&M lost to Ole Miss. That really was disappointing. With that win, Alabama has pretty much locked up the West. In order to lose, what would need to happen for Alabama to lose the West is they would have to lose this week to Arkansas, and they would have to lose to Arkansas and Auburn. They'd have to lose both those games, and I don't think they'll lose both. They might lose one, but they're definitely not losing both. New to the top 10, Oklahoma State is back. They got all the way up to 5 or 6, I think. I dropped them out after they lost to Iowa State. They're back. They have that great win over Baylor, it's looking like. They could rematch Baylor in the Big 12 Championship, and they have a matchup with Oklahoma set. So they're going to play Oklahoma the last week of the season, then they're going to play either Oklahoma or Baylor again in the Big 12 Championship. Also, at the end of this video, I'll give you my New Year's Six bowl predictions. Georgia, Cincinnati, Oregon, Ohio State, Alabama, Michigan State, and Michigan all stay the same. Wake Forest is also back. There were so many teams I could have put in that 10 spot. I could have put Wake Forest, Baylor, Ole Miss, BYU, Oklahoma, Iowa. I mean, there were just so many teams I could have put in that spot. I thought Wake Forest is the most deserving. So, Wake Forest, welcome back to the top 10. Without further ado, let's talk about the future games. If Oregon loses another game, they're done, and this is the hardest remaining game on their schedule until the Pac-12 title game. They're actually an underdog in this game against Utah. Utah is favored. Can Oregon survive the road test? And then Michigan State and Ohio State. The winner will probably play for the Big Ten title game. Loser is done. Now, Ohio State still has to play Michigan, but if Ohio State loses this game, pretty much if Ohio State loses this game, they're done. If they win, they're still going to have to beat Michigan. Michigan State's already beaten Michigan, so they have a little bit more to play. You guys know what I'm saying. Both teams have one loss. When they lose, they're out of the playoffs. So it's an elimination game in Columbus. But let's get started with these other games. Memphis traveling on the road to Houston. Houston is an 8.5-point favorite on Friday. Houston should be able to take care of this one pretty easily. San Diego State and UNLV. I picked against San Diego State last week. We're not going to do that again. UNLV's 2-8. San Diego State 10.5-point favorites. They should have no problems. Charleston Southern and Georgia. Well, there's not even a spread for this game yet. Georgia's liable to beat them by as many as they want to. I mean, they could beat them by 100 if they wanted to. Charleston Southern's a 4-5 FCS team. This is as easy as they come. Wake Forest at Clemson. Now, Clemson, they're not a horrible team this year. They're 7-3, which is not bad. They've won 3 in a row. They're just not to the standards that everyone has set on them this year. Now, Clemson is a 4.5-point favorite at home, and everything's telling me pick Clemson in this game. I mean, Wake Forest is, maybe they're not as good as their ranking shows, but I'm going to take Wake Forest in this one. I have a feeling that they're going to come out with an energy, and they're not going to overlook Clemson just because they're not ranked. I mean, Clemson's still a terrific team, and Wake Forest is going to need to fight for every yard in this game. I think that they're going to improve. I think they improved since that North Carolina game. I picked against them. I picked NC State to beat them last week. Well, Wake Forest came out and they took care of business. I think they're going to be coming into this game hot. I'm going to take Wake Forest. Oklahoma and Iowa State. Oklahoma a 3.5-point favorite at home. Neither one of these teams. I had Iowa State at 4 and Oklahoma at 5 in my preseason poll. How times have changed. I'm going to take Oklahoma in a close defensive affair. I'm not a huge fan of either one of these teams on offense. Their defense has actually not looked bad. Oklahoma's defense didn't play badly against Baylor. Only let up 27 points. They can only score 14. So I'm going to say defensive affair. Oklahoma pulls away at home. Texas A&M, and hey, Prairie View A&M 7-2, but I don't think they're going to hold up in this spot. A lot of teams playing FCS teams this week, so I'll take Prairie View. Tennessee State and Mississippi State. Mississippi State easily, that shouldn't be a question. Illinois and Iowa, I'll take Iowa, although Illinois does have 2 big upsets this year, both on the road. They beat Minnesota and Penn State, ranked teams on the road. Another ranked win on the road, possibly. Maybe, but I think Iowa should be fine. Georgia Tech and Notre Dame. Does Notre Dame have a shot to make the playoffs? They would need a lot of stuff ahead of them to happen, but they would obviously need to win out. And against a 3-7 Georgia Tech team, that should be pretty easy. Arkansas and Alabama. Now, Alabama's a 21-point favorite in this game. And I do think Alabama could win this game pretty handily. Don't be surprised if Arkansas sticks around. LSU stuck around for a while, and Arkansas is better than LSU. They beat LSU, so maybe Arkansas can stick around. Maybe that quarterback they've got, that KJ Jefferson, he's a terrific player. Maybe he can hold them around a little bit, but ultimately Alabama will pull away at home. Cincinnati and SMU, man, this was supposed to be a good game. It's supposed to be a really good game. SMU and Cincinnati were both 7-0. We're like, oh boy, SMU could be ranked in the top 15 when they play them. This could be a big resume booster for Cincinnati. Then SMU decided to go out and lose 2 straight games. And now the big matchup, if you're Cincinnati, the big matchup you're waiting for is Houston. Houston's 9-1 and ranked I think 24 right now. So Cincinnati should be able to beat SMU. They're not what they looked like earlier. I mean, Tanner Mordecai is a good quarter. Or what's SMU's quarter? The Mordecai dude. I think that's what his name is. Yeah, Tanner Mordecai. He's a good player. Maybe he can give Cincinnati some trouble, but ultimately the number 5 team in the country and number 2 in my poll should roll. Michigan and Maryland. Michigan's 15-point favorites on the road. Maryland's not really that great this year. I mean, they've got rolled by a lot of the better teams in the Big Ten. And they lost to George Mason in basketball today. That was an embarrassment. Tough day for Maryland. I'll take Michigan. Wisconsin against Nebraska. I mean, Nebraska's just waiting for Scott Frost to be fired, so Wisconsin should be able to win against a 3-7 Nebraska team. Pitt and Virginia. Pitt is favored by 14.5. That seems a little big. I know this score has them covering the spread. Seems a little big for me though. Maybe take Virginia to cover. I do think Pitt will win though. Is Kenny Pickett your Heisman frontrunner? I don't know. There's really no candidates who have separated themselves. Kenny Pickett's great. C.J. Stroud is great. Bryce Young is great. I think Kenneth Walker is who I would give it to. Kenneth Walker, I think, has played like the best in my college football. Jordan Davis, I mean, I love Jordan Davis. I think maybe people should give him some credit, although there's no way Jordan Davis will win it. I mean, there are some good players this year, but no one is really, it's anyone's Heisman race, honestly. At week 12, you usually can't say that. So, who knows? UAB and UTSA. UTSA, 10-0. There's only 3 undefeated teams. Georgia, Cincinnati, and UTSA. They should have no problems against UAB. UAB is 7-3, though. Not a bad team by any stretch of the imagination, but UTSA should win. BYU and Georgia Southern. BYU is favored by 20 against a 3-7 Georgia Southern team. Should be no problems there. NC State and Syracuse. NC State, I think, should have this one. Maybe Syracuse hangs around. They're 5-5. They're fighting to make a bowl. But I think ultimately I'm going to take NC State. Baylor and Kansas State. Man, Kansas State's actually better than I thought. They're 7-3. Dang, I didn't realize Kansas State was that good. They have lost to pretty much every good team they've played, though. Lost to Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, and Iowa State. And Baylor, I think, could be the next in line. Although Kansas State is favored by 1. I'd definitely take Baylor in this one. If Baylor is a plus on the money line, I may consider taking them. Right now, it says Baylor's at minus 105. If Baylor gets to plus territory in the money line, consider taking them. Vandy and Ole Miss. Ole Miss is favored by 36.5. Will they come? Maybe. Vanderbilt's 2-8, and they're waiting for baseball season because basketball and football aren't doing anything. Ole Miss big. Oklahoma State and Texas Tech. Now, I have a little bit of a concern for Oklahoma State in this game. They could possibly be looking ahead to Oklahoma and maybe get a little overconfident against not a terrible Texas Tech team. 6-4, had that big 60-yard field goal to beat Iowa State last week. You never know in this game. I'd be worried if I was an Oklahoma State fan. But I'm still going to take them. Louisiana Lafayette and Liberty. I'm excited for this game. There's two really good teams. Malik Willis and Levi Lewis. Two great quarterbacks. Two teams that were great last year and both have really good records this year. Louisiana Lafayette 9-1. Their only loss came to Texas. And Liberty is 7-3. So they're looking really good too. I'm going to take Lafayette. I think they're the better team. Even though Liberty's at home, I think Lafayette's the better team. UCLA and USC. USC, they don't know what they're doing. They're too busy recruiting James Franklin to come there. So I don't really know. I think this should be a pretty easy win for UCLA. They're 3-point favorites on the road. I think they're going to get up for a game against their rivals. Give me UCLA. All right, now featured games. Let's go to Oregon and Utah. Utah, according to the FPI, they have a 61% chance to win this game. That is pretty impressive. Their quarterback, Cameron Rising, has 14 touchdowns to only 2 interceptions. Not bad at all. Their running back, Tavion Thomas, 122 carries, 742 yards, 14 touchdowns. They can run the ball. They have a pretty good defense. Let's look at their points allowed throughout the season. 17, 26, 33 in triple overtime against San Diego State. They lost to BYU at San Diego State early in the season. They've had some games where they've struggled on defense, 42 to Oregon State, but they held Stanford to 7. So their defense is not what it was like when they had Jalen Johnson and a bunch of studs on that defense. They had 7 draft picks one year. They were the 5th-ranked team in the country. But they're still a good team. And they're at home. Oregon, on the other hand, they've skated by in some Pac-12 games. I mean, only beat Cal by 7. UCLA by 3. Washington by 10. Washington State by 14. Although that game was close. That game was really close in the end. I mean, that was a really close game. At the end, I mean, Washington State hung around in that game. I don't know, man. This has upset written all over it. Utah's 3-point favorites right now. They're ranked. They have momentum. They're playing really well. And that stadium is going to be rocking when the number 3 ranked team in the country comes to town. It's gonna be a fight. It's gonna be a fight. Utah's wearing those those like navy gray kind of like it's supposed to represent like the USS Salt Lake battleship or something. They look pretty cool. This is gonna be a really good game. I'm gonna go with my gut on this one, and my gut says Utah pulls it out. And here's why. Oregon has blown so many late season Pac-12 games on the road, it's laughable. I mean, remember when they were ranked in the top 10 and they lost, they were about to make the playoff and they lost to Arizona State on the road, got blown out by Jalen Daniels. They lost to Arizona on the road one year. They have struggled on the road in these late season Pac-12 games against teams that are trying to spoil their season, and I think Utah might just be the next one in line. I mean, I think Utah is a really good team at home. Night game? Taking the Utes. I like that. My friend Brian has been talking up Utah all week. He's like, they're going to win. He's like, Oregon's a bunch of frauds. He's like, Utah's going to win. He's all over Utah this game. And I agree with him. I'm taking Utah. All right. Lastly, we have Michigan State and Ohio State. I don't know why this is a noon game. Someone's gonna have to tell me why this is a noon game because this should not be a noon game. Not at all. Ohio State's given an 86% chance to win, and they're favored by 19. Seems a little high to me, considering Michigan State has looked really. Of the teams currently in the college football playoff top 10, Ohio State is the only one without a ranked win. Now, they did just blow the brakes off of Purdue by 28, and they were a ranked team, so. I mean, I guess. Now, here's the thing about Ohio State. Against here's the thing. They have blown teams out. I mean, they beat Akron 59-7, Rutgers 52-13, Maryland 66-17, Indiana. I was at that game 54-7. But then they've had games like against Nebraska 26-17, Penn State 33-24, Minnesota 45-31. They lost to Oregon. The only really elite team they've played this year is Oregon, and they lost. Now, I know that was earlier in the season, but you just can't take that away. You can't replay games. So, I mean, this is the next elite. They have 2 games against elite teams, Michigan and Michigan State. And it's gonna be a fight in this game. I'm telling you, Michigan State. Now, here's what scares me for Michigan State, because I'm a Michigan State fan. This is what worries me if I'm a Michigan State fan. What worries me is the defense. The defense for Michigan State, I mean, it's not a bad defense, but they've gotten blown up a little bit. Just gave up 40 to Purdue. I mean, I don't know. This is going to be by far here's the thing. Ohio State will score in the 30s. That's just going to happen. They're going to get in the 30s. Does Michigan State have enough offense to outscore Ohio State? Because Ohio State's defense, they're really, I don't know what to think of Ohio State's defense. I mean, Purdue just dropped 31 on them. But other than that, they have Ohio State's team. I mean, I don't know. Can they stop Kenneth Walker? I mean, I don't know. But here's the thing. I'm not going to bet against Ohio State. I think they're the better team. They've got 3 NFL caliber receivers with Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, and Olave and Wilson are both going to go maybe in the top 10. And I don't think either one of them is the best receiver. I think that Jackson Smith Njigma, how do you say that guy's name? Njigma? That guy is nuts. I think he's their leading receiver. Yeah, Jackson Smith, NJI. I'm gonna say Njigma. I think it's Jackson Smith Njigma. 59 catches, 1,027 yards, and 5 touchdowns. And don't forget Travion Henderson was really good. I mean, he's no Kenneth Walker, but he's still really good. I'm gonna take Ohio State at home. I think Michigan State will hang around. I think they'll cover the 19-point spread, but I'm gonna take Ohio State. Hopefully Michigan State wins. I want them to win. I'm a Michigan State fan. Hopefully Michigan State wins, but I don't see it happening, especially at home. If this game was at Spartan Stadium, I'd consider taking Michigan State. But the last time these teams played in a high-profile game, Ohio State was 10-0. Michigan State was 9-1. Ohio State was ranked 3. Michigan State was ranked like 9. Michigan State beat them 17-14 on a game-winning field goal, so you never know. But that's going to be it from me. Place your bets, make your picks, and we'll see how you do this week. Some tough games to pick this week. Let me know who you think is going to win in the comments, and I'll see you next time.